Sorry, friends. Can you hear me now? Oh, so some people can hear me and some people can't. I'm so sorry. Oh, thank you. We can hear now. So we can hear. I had to disconnect my mic. It's not going to be perfect. Um, I am okay. So as long as, okay, you can hear me. I gave this amazing little introduction, and that's okay. Life happens. This was a perfect example of things not being perfect. And I apologize for those who joined to the previous link. I hope that you can join to this one. So let's get to it. I asked a question on my Instagram page yesterday and I got flooded with so many different questions. I asked if anybody wanted to basically ask me a question, ask me anything. And I got questions that were all related to this journey. Questions about the nervous system, about trauma work. I mean, so many things came in. And I think that these are questions that are going to um, are really going to be relatable. And so I apologize if you joined and for whatever reason you couldn't hear me. There's obviously a first time for everything. So maybe we'll give people a minute or so to get in. But what I'd really like to cover today are some of the main things that came in. I got a lot of questions and I'll do my best to answer the majority of them that showed up, but I might not get to every single one of them. And that's okay. I think the themes that you'll learn today, and maybe this will give you an idea into the way that I teach, maybe an invitation to heal differently. Maybe that's what we've been needing all along. Maybe it's less about pressure, fixing, forcing, shifting, asking something to be different than it is, and more about this awareness, acceptance, allowing, being with what is, and building capacity for what's there. So if you're just joining me, I apologize for the tech stuff that happened, but I'm happy to see that some of you are popping in and we're going to get right to it. So we got some amazing questions that came in and I'm just going to bring them up on my side here. So I first, before we even begin on anything, I would really, really like to focus on this theme. And I think it's kind of a precursor, something that we all need to understand. Why are we even doing this work, so to speak? How are we approaching this work? I know there's a lot of talk in the communities about, brain retraining, nervous system regulation, all of the stuff, all of these keywords. And what I'm here to talk a little bit about, first of all, is the foundation of the work that I do with clients. I've been working in this community for almost 6 years, supporting people one-on-one, and I have seen it all. I've also experienced it all as well. So when it comes to my own journey, for those of you who know me, I had 50 different diagnoses, close to 100 symptoms, and I spent a decade of my life with debilitating chronic illness. And I learned quite a few things. And I kind of fell into this work. I always say it was God guiding me to my purpose here. And I really started to see trends. I started to see patterns as I started to work with people as I entered my own journey. And what it all boils down to for me, it's about safety. So you've been in survival probably for the majority of your life, and you've never truly felt safe. And so, what does that tell you, right? So we know when we're in survival, we're using all of these, Our body is working in survival. We're running on stress chemistry, things are happening. We're not working optimally, so to speak. Our bodies are, and it's a lot of stress on our bodies. And so if we've been in survival for so long, right, that's the opposite of safety. We haven't felt safe. And right, the reason I'm sharing this is because this is where everything changed for me on a healing journey perspective. Yes, I started the brain retraining, that's where I began, but it wasn't until I realized that this journey was about safety where I started to heal differently. So everything changed for me when I realized this journey wasn't about fixing, it was about safety. I wasn't broken. I never was. That was a story I held onto. That was what every, doctor, practitioner would tell me, this is wrong and that's wrong. But the truth is, I was never safe. I never felt that sense of safety. And I was living in survival for various reasons. Chronic survival changed the way that my mind works, my body works. It changed my physiology, the way that I think, the way I see the world, the way I experience the world. And again, led to this chronic stress on my body and these debilitating symptoms, debilitating disease. And I initially, when I entered into this mind body world, I was focused on fixing and shifting all the time, redirecting. And there were the programs that I begin like earlier brain retraining programs that I started with that was just, all we had. We knew that there was some internal alarm that is continuously going off. But what we were taught back then was to just kind of tell yourself you're safe and redirect. And so there was this element of safety, but it wasn't that felt sense of safety that needed to be cultivated. I can't tell you how many times I would tell myself, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe. And this part of me is like, yeah, I don't believe you. I do not believe you. And so I'm just really bringing that forward because I think there's a lot of you out there saying, but I don't feel safe yet. Well, yeah, of course. We can't just convince ourselves we're safe. That part is asking you to show it that you're safe. And so that's where this evolution of my own practice came. Not just, I had this brain retraining piece, this top down piece, but then I brought in safety. How does safety feel in the body? Can I cultivate safety with these sensations? Do I really have to get rid of them? Can I cultivate safety with these emotions? Oh my gosh, I'm going to feel emotions for the first time ever. So all of these were different, even cultivating safety with my thoughts, cultivating safety with the parts of me that I was rejecting or trying to get rid of or hiding or whatever it might be. And so this was really the epitome of my journey was it was this journey of safety, not even healing so much, because healing was a byproduct of safety. And so I wanted to just start off with that. So as I get asked that question all the time, like, what did you do? Where did you start? And yeah, I did start off with brain retraining. And I know it was a God thing. It came into my life when I needed it. And I was able to get the education and awareness that what was really wrong was this internal alarm that was continuously going on. It was this survival response. And I learned about visualization at that point. I learned about the awareness of our thoughts and the stories, but it wasn't the full experience. It wasn't the full journey for me. And this was one of the questions, like, how did you find brain rewiring? And again, it was definitely a God thing. I was introduced, actually ended up seeing a video of a testimonial on YouTube of someone, Sarah Jackson, who had healed from many of the things that I had healed from. I was literally in a hospital bed. It had been over a month. I was literally like, I didn't think I would walk out of there, and my family didn't either. And with my new diagnosis of POTS at the time, adding to the list of 50, I started to just go on YouTube and I saw her testimonial, and she had healed from many of the same diagnoses I had. And so that planted a seed. But I never, I didn't even jump on it at that point. It wasn't until later that it came back around after I really connected to my faith. And so I'm not going to tell you my whole story here today, but what that was, that brain retraining, it started the process for me. It helped me to see my experience differently and to uncouple some of the fear around it. And someone asked, did you fully heal from just brain retraining or did you use other modalities? That's a great question. I did use other modalities as well. I think the brain retraining and the nervous system, or brain retraining rewiring program started it for me. But then I weaved in other things like somatic work. Like, okay, I could rewire my brain, right, and communicate safety to my body. But could I use my body to communicate safety to my brain? Could I have a full felt sense of safety here? And so, somatic work for me was a really beautiful way to connect with my body again and feel safe or cultivate safety in my body. Because as someone who struggled with debilitating symptoms 24/7, the body has not felt like a safe space. It never was. And so I had to really start to slowly build comfort, even just with being in my body, because I was dissociated, most of the time, or disconnected. And so, somatic work. And then as I felt safer, as I built a foundation of safety, as my capacity grew to sit with all of it, the emotion, the sensation, the thoughts, that's when I went into more of the deeper work, addressing the trauma that was surfacing, because I was ready to. And so that was a really important question that somebody asked. And I think we're going to touch on trauma a little bit more going forward. But someone asked, can brain retraining help disordered eating due to chronic illness? So many foods in the past and currently, make me sick, and we fear these foods. How do we handle it? This is actually the topic of our next coaching call on Thursday within my Haven membership. There are a lot of people out there, including myself, who have a complex relationship with food for whatever reason. I had disordered eating from a teenager with anorexia, bulimia, and that evolved into a different disordered eating as I was on a chronic illness journey because of the fears around food. And so, doing all the strict dieting, avoiding all the foods, having these practitioners, the doctors, the functional medicine practitioners saying, avoid all these foods. These are all the inflammatory foods, or this is what's causing all of it. And so then the fear, I already had this complex relationship with food. And then now when we coupled fear with these food, which was again perpetuated by the doctors, by the people, the avoidance was triggered, then the fear increased, and it was this vicious cycle. And I'm going to say this because this definitely can't all be covered in one of these. As you feel safer, for me, I didn't train around every single food. As I felt safer and had more capacity, my capacity for all things expanded, including foods. There were certain foods that I did specifically train on because I carried an EpiPen with me. There was definitely fear there, but with curiosity and with incremental training and little exposures, I was able to rewire my relationship with that food. And that's really what we're talking about. It's rewiring the relationship with the food, because it's rarely the food itself. It's more the story that we attach to it, the story that our brain triggers, the response that's triggered when we connect with that particular food or trigger. And if you're a Haven member, Thursday we're going to be doing a EFT tapping specifically for this. Someone asked, do you think it's possible to heal structural problems with mind-body connection? First of all, I think all things are possible with God. But a side note, I have seen things that don't fall under the bracket of mind-body completely resolve with this work. And so I can't speak to your specific condition, but I know when the body feels safe, healing happens. It is a byproduct. It is a promise. God created us to heal. He really did. And I think that given the right circumstances, we can. And of course, I'm not saying that you never have to go to a doctor or check anything else out ever again. But what I am saying is that this work can help any condition. It really can, even if it doesn't fall under the bracket of mind body. Another question was how to navigate through setbacks and like flus or viruses when we're wiring. I've always seen a setback as a set up. So you need to know this. You might call it a setback. You might say, this is, something happened as I'm rewiring and now I'm going backwards. But the truth is, it's just a contraction, right? So we know the natural flow of life. We expand and we contract, and that's normal. It's the way of life. And so what you need to know is that you heal in contractions too. There's actual literature out there that says that our brains are most plastic during these times. So are we taking this opportunity? And my Haven members will know this. They are opportunities, right? These setbacks, opportunities to choose differently, to respond differently, to meet what's there. Maybe something surfaces that you would normally try and, redirect. And now you have to face it head on. I always bring in compassion, letting go of the militant and the pressure and the urgency, because those are all recipe for TMS. But really just meeting yourself where you're at and supporting the state that you're in. Maybe you're going to go slower, right? Maybe you're going to bring in more compassion. Maybe you're going to change up your routine and let that be okay. But consistency is key. You have to keep showing up during those times because it's neuroplastic gold. Another question is, what do you do when setbacks are prolonged? We've been there, right? Might be a setback that lingers. So what do we do? I know for myself, not judging has been extremely important. So say we're in a setback. Most of us will judge it and say, well, I can't believe I'm still here. I can't believe this is still here. I can't believe I've gone backwards. And so it's that resistance that creates even more of that activation. Think about it. You start to fight your reality. If you're fighting your reality and you're asking it to be different, what does that tell you? What does that communicate to your brain, to your body, to these parts of you? It's saying we're not safe here. Something needs to change. So then it brings on urgency and pressure. So with prolonged setbacks, can we reframe them as longer seasons of healing? Maybe there is something evolving, something coming up that needs to be looked at, that needs to be, that is surfacing to heal even. And my other invitation is reach out for support. I mean, there's amazing, wonderful coaches in this community that are there for you during those setbacks. And don't feel bad about it. I know many of us will say, but I know this work, I shouldn't be here, or whatever it might be. But we all need support, right? And the healing also comes in recognizing that you're worthy of being supported and held in this very difficult journey. Another question is, my energy has improved, but I still feel horrible when I wake up. What can I do? So we can see this, perhaps, like you said, this person is improving, but this morning is challenging. I will be the first to tell you the mornings were so challenging, especially for myself. I could not get out of bed before like 11. It was hard. Symptoms were at an all-time high. And as things started to improve, I did notice that sometimes that morning neurology was still there. And that's how I invite you to see it initially. Could this just be that neurology of your morning routine? And can you get curious as to how you can change this up? Can you bring in safety in the morning? Can you rearrange your routine and do something different to communicate that things have changed? And this is my other invitation. If that's what you've tried and things are still kind of showing up in that sense, can we go deeper? Can we meet with the part of you that's showing up every morning and get curious? Really get to know this part. Is there a part of you that is protecting you from moving forward? Is there a part of you that says, it's not safe to go and enter the world. Let's keep her in bed. what does it mean for this part for you to be healing? Does this part even know that you've been healing? Does this part even know that you have the resources and the capacity? So I think that this is one way to approach this and to stay curious. Another question is, I started feeling sensations after eye orienting. Do I stop? If this is just general orienting, or if you're doing a specific eye exercise, I'm not sure. But this is also just this reminder of never force something that doesn't resonate at that time. Know that you can place something down, and if you want to return to it at a later date, you can. If you're doing specific practices that you think you have to do, can we also challenge that and say, well, who says? And can I bring in safety in another way? Does this really need to be part of my routine right now? Um, we want to also just build curiosity with the sensation. So, say you do try this orienting and you notice a sensation. Can you meet it? Can you allow it to be there and bring in that sense of curiosity to say, oh, interesting. This is here. And what if it's okay that this is here? What if this is part of the calibration? So just some suggestions or invitations to you. We're segueing into some of the trauma and emotional processing questions that came up. And yeah, just I'm definitely not here ever. I should have said this at the beginning, to give medical advice. I am sharing from my own experience and experience working with others. I highly, highly recommend people work with a trauma-informed therapist when they're meeting trauma and it's surfacing. But the questions that came up was, when traumatic memories start coming in while healing, what does that mean? What do you think it means? So this one was key for me. Recognizing that things always surface to heal you, not hurt you. It's surfacing to heal you, not hurt you. So that's important. So what does this tell us when we're healing? Maybe we're building safety, maybe we're building capacity, and now a memory surfaces. This tells me that there's probably more capacity to meet what is surfacing. And this is when I would work with a trauma-informed practitioner to meet that part, meet that emotion, the memory itself. I know for myself, it was very challenging to go into a traumatic memory, nor would I recommend you go into a traumatic memory by yourself, right? Because we need that support to help with the processing of it. But we can build safety with the sensations and the emotions that come up around the story without going into it. So, to recap, it's surfacing to heal you, not hurt you. And it shows or reflects that there is likely more capacity to meet these memories. Another question was about whether you should process trauma while you're pregnant. And my question for you is, if it's surfacing, then this could perhaps be a way to meet it gently with a practitioner in a place of safety, which could even lead to a beautiful expansion, the opportunity to process and heal yourself and the life that you carry within you. But my other question is, are you digging for it? So if you're pregnant saying, oh, I've got all these symptoms, I've got to find the trauma so I can figure it out, so I can deal with it, so that I'm going to feel better, then that indicates it's coming from more of a survival response. And I would say, don't go digging for it. It will surface to heal when it's ready. And that is my rule of thumb. I don't go digging for things. I meet clients exactly where they're at, with the part that shows up, the sensation that shows up, the story that shows up. We are rarely ever looking for it or digging it up, because you'll know when you're ready. It will surface when it's meant to. Another question is how to signal safety to the body when the mind is only anxious. Get curious with the anxiety. Where does it live in your body? Get out of the story and into the sensations with curiosity. This is where the buzzword of allowing is, right? What is allowing? It's just letting it be here, giving it permission to be here. And in that process, safety is built. When you allow anxiety to be there, knowing that it's just either a reflection of your state, part of you that's there, when you get out of the story into the sensation and meet it with curiosity, it gets the permission to evolve and change. And even if it doesn't change, that's okay too, because that's not our motive. If you're meeting a symptom, a sensation apart with the ulterior motive of getting rid of it, it can sense your motive. So, curiosity, where does the anxiety live in your body? What does it look like? What color is it? Just that somatic tracking is what I love, 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 love. And this is a segue. I'll talk a little more because I've got these questions about asking how to feel safe and not fear your symptoms, how to uncouple fear from your symptoms. And again, bringing you back to letting go of the story and getting into the sensations. So the somatic tracking, right? We're going to see these sensations as a part of us, not all of us. They're a reflection of the state that we're in. They are a signpost indication that a part of you doesn't feel safe. And that's okay. And we know that we don't have to forcibly shift our state, forcibly fix our thoughts, or forcibly change anything. What we know is that we can support the state, bring in safety, and safety might look different to all of us, right? It might be a simple placing your hand on in that moment on your heart and allowing it to be there and getting curious, or it could look like movement, or it could look like, there's so many pathways to safety, right? And as we feel safe, the state evolves. As you feel safe, the state evolves, and so do the symptoms, so do the emotions, so do the thoughts. So don't get so fixated on the symptoms or sensations, so to speak, and think about more of the safety. And again, how do you uncouple fear? By slowly meeting the sensations, sitting there, allowing it to be there, even if it's for 5 seconds, and then following it with something that feels safe as well, right? So we can support while we allow. It's not so black and white that we can only allow and throw yourself into the trenches, so to speak, without anything. It's like, well, how can we support this? So hopefully that answered your question. Another question that came up a lot is, how do you deal with the fear of menopause? The scary information that's out there. This has been one we've talked about in our membership quite a bit, because there's many of us who are in these stages. And I will have to say that this story that's out there is creating this expectation, this perception, and this experience. So what if we were to let go of the expectation of it? I will say, as someone who is stepping into perimenopause and, knowing that my body is changing, what if, for myself at least, I have come to this place of acceptance that my body is changing, that my hormones are fluctuating, and I'm letting that be okay. It's not a failure. It's a natural process of the human body. And there's a lot of fear out there of and expectations of what it might look like. But the truth is, everybody experiences it differently. And I know, as a matter of fact, without a any doubt, that the state of our nervous system, how safe we feel, will affect how we kind of experience that the fluctuation. And when we work on these beliefs around menopause and what it means, and start to even look forward to it, like, oh, wow, this could be the transition into one of the most freeing periods of my life. Why would I want to stop it? What if I can support it? Right? What if this helps? And think about it, it's a complete transformation, and it is a season. So what if I supported the season instead of stopping it? And I'm not black and white because you'll probably ask me about HRT, and I think supports whatever that looks to you. As long as you're seeing these things outside yourself as a support and not a fix, that's an indication that it's a healthy choice versus seeking for the fix outside yourself. Hopefully that made sense. Another person asked, how can I accept my look? There is some physical things that trigger and reminds me when I look in the mirror and reminds me that I'm not healthy. This is, really where I would probably bring in more of a parts work perspective, um, and maybe meeting this part that wants to be seen. Maybe this part is connected to a sense of shame. Maybe your worth is connected to something physical, which many of us can relate to. And actually, this we're actually going to be working with shame. I'm teaching a live somatic class, a journey of shame on Tuesday, November 18th, where we're going to be meeting the part of us that has stayed hidden, the part of us that feels unworthy, the part of us that doesn't want to be seen, the part of us that believes we're unlovable. This part is coming up more and more in this community, right? Shame says I'm bad, I'm unworthy, I'm wrong, I'm too much, I'm not enough, I'm unlovable. If they only knew, and this shame makes us hide and not be seen. And so part of the processing and working with shame is actually allowing it to be seen, right? Actually witnessing it and giving it permission to be there, and helping it evolve, helping with compassion and understanding, to see, what's really there. So this would definitely be more of a parts work perspective that I would look into, and really meeting that part. If you're a Haven, I can't remember if you're a Haven member, there's guided parts practices in the parts section as well that would be really, really helpful. There's the fountain and parts circle that would be really good in meeting this part. And what do we do when we're meeting parts? We are building trust with this part. We don't meet a part to get rid of it. We meet a part to get to know it better, to understand it better, and to build that sense of trust. And what follows from trust? Safety. And so I wanted to just reiterate that. So we could talk about parts forever. uh, Another question: can we do visualization? Can we do a visualization we did before because it makes us calm even if we've repeated it many times? Yes, for sure. Helmet and I just talked about it. I don't know if you guys saw that, the Mindful Gardener. We did an episode just on visualization, and we did discuss this, I believe, or it came up in the comments. No, it was in the show. I had many visualizations that I did over and over again because they helped me feel safe. That's not to say that we shouldn't challenge ourselves to go outside of that, but you can definitely reuse visualizations, and we can use visualization as a way to incrementally expose ourselves to different experiences. So ask yourself, am I repeating this because I'm avoiding looking at anything else? That'd be a very interesting question. Another question is more about, how do you make the choice of needing medical help versus self-healing? And obviously, this is not, medical advice at all. It's completely up to you. If you notice something new or something that's alarming, check it out, run the test, see the doctor. More times than not, you'll get the validation that there wasn't anything life-threatening, and that this would maybe even reinforce this idea that this is something in the mind-body realm. And you can still prioritize this work while doing the test. Take it from me, I was still seeing all the doctors while I started this work. And so I would do my rounds in the waiting room. I would do it on the way to the appointment. I would kind of, connect with whatever emotion was there and the sensation while I sat there in the waiting room. After the appointment, I would discharge some of that activation energy. And again, we can weave it into our daily life, and it doesn't have to be so black and white. And the final one of the, I think it's a final question, and I think we've got some here as well, is how did you find peace and safety um, with existential obsessive thoughts? I'm already a Jesus lover, but would love to know. Uh, so my invitation would be to focus more on your relationship with Jesus, and I call it co-regulation with Christ, and accept that you can't know everything and that it's okay to not know everything, and to focus more on connecting in this moment versus understanding everything or knowing what comes next. I think I think we all need this reminder. Safety is not found in the past or in the future. It's found in the present. And there are actually some study, I can't remember the exact study, but I remember reading that when you pray, you are actually in present communion with God. Like you are here now. Prayer is present tense, and safety is found in the presence. So more focusing on the present current relationship, connection, union with Christ versus all of that. Anything else, kind of trying to figure everything else. We actually teach faith session in Haven every month as well, which is pretty special. So if you'd like to build your relationship with him, there is a ton of resources within Haven for that as well. If you'd like to go into that, it's not mandatory. And I wanted to, another question was, am I doing a Black Friday sale for Haven? If you've seen it advertised, my membership Haven is, we actually have an app now. It's really cool. It's really awesome. I'm not going to talk a lot about it at all, but it is my membership where we have weekly coaching calls exactly like this, where we answer questions, where we connect. And we have over 200 different unique guided resources. You don't have to do them all. The reason there's so many is because there are many pathways to safety. Some things resonate with some people and some with others, and that's okay. It is about creating variety and bringing in practices that feel authentic to you and giving you options and keeping it fresh, honestly. And we also have the monthly grief somatic class I told you about. Our next one is on Tuesday. It's about shame. It's included in our membership, but you can join the class. I'll put the link in the captions later on. And yeah, and we have a private community that's right in our app, so we can connect to everybody. We don't have to be on socials. It's absolutely lovely. And I'll pop all that information in the caption as well. And I'll take a couple more questions before we close this down. Um, okay, so I'm just going to say with, again, not medical advice, but with someone asked about SIBO and, what to do with that. And I cannot give you recommendations on what to do with that. I will say that there are many of us in the community who were diagnosed with us. Some of us treated it, some of us didn't. Either way, I mean, I've seen people who didn't treat it directly and actually had it resolved. And then I have people who did treat it and while they did this work and it resolved. So my invitation to you is just to continue reinforcing this message of safety, uncoupling the fear from this, and really working to support your body as you kind of go through this process. A setback because of grief. I wouldn't call it a setback. I would say that grief, actually, half of our membership is literally dedicated to grief and emotional processing, because grieving is healing. So we talk about this setback because of grief. I'll share that I had recovered from chronic illness and then lost my dad tragically and traumatically almost 4 years ago. And I can tell you that grief is, a very heavy experience, but healing happens in grieving as well. And the setback that you're experiencing might be typical and normal of grief. Grief can make you tired. Grief can make you foggy. Grief can bring up symptoms. And the best way to really meet those is to meet your grief, is to make time and space for it, is to not think of it as a setback, but see it as part of the healing. You are never the same on the other side of grief. And there is no really other side because you live with grief, you move with grief, you expand with grief, you change with grief, and you heal with it. It's a part of the healing. I hope that helps. What if your father was abusive, which affects your relationship with God? This is very, very common. So your evidence, your brain has collected evidence that this is what a father does, and now that has also been your experience with God or has informed your understanding and experience with God. And my invitation, because this is very, very common, is really to meet Jesus, like get to know Jesus. Open your Bible, go into the Gospels, and get to know his character. When you get to know him and you walk in him in fellowship and communion with Christ, your relationship will evolve because you'll get to know God through him. Like you'll get to know God intimately with Jesus. So that intimacy can help evolve your relationship. I'm Orthodox Serbian. Can I come to your workshop at Greek Orthodox Church? I saw on your website. Oh, that I wish that I was. Could invite all of you over. I did do a workshop in the Greek community close to maybe 9 months ago. I don't know when the next one will be, but that one has already passed, and I'll keep you posted if there's another one. And of course, everyone's welcome. What does the term TMS stand for? Yeah, well, originally coined by Dr. John Sarno, tension myositis syndrome, but really it is mind-body symptoms. So yeah, let me know if you have any more questions about Haven specifically. Otherwise, I think this was a really great call, and I hope that you all took something from it. My audio wasn't perfect. The tech stuff happens, but I'm so glad that so many of you could join me today, and I'll be dropping all the links below, specifically on all of the class I talked about, as well as my membership Haven as well. The price is increasing as of December 1st. So as for Black Friday sale, this is the sale. It's priced very, very low for what is offered within the membership. You're not going to find support like this anywhere else. So thank you so much for being here. I look forward to doing many more of these once I definitely figure out, hopefully the next one will be a little less rocky, but it was a pleasure to see you all today. And yeah, follow me, subscribe, share away with someone you think would benefit from this. Take care. Bye.